Oh wait, it's not showing. Why is it not showing? Hold on. Let me go to my. I just clicked the wrong button, of course. Grid. Um. Of course, my Steam is opening now. So it looks. No, this. How do I hide this thing that's on the side? I don't understand why.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't hear you. Was it?
Oh, so like I have it here. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do it. This thing here wasn't shown before. I don't know if you can see, but on the left-hand side of the stream, it's showing like all the channels on Discord.
Oh no, because I have just this screen up for right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I guess it is technically fine. It wasn't showing before, and I wish it wasn't showing now. But
Oh,
the,
is it is it because are you outside of the private channel? Is that why maybe or
I have no idea. Because I think I have it set up exactly the way I had it before, and before it wasn't showing. Let me see.
like the audience will be able to see that part of the Discord?
Right now they can, yes.
He's saying that they can see like all of his Discord things on the left, like the audience will be able to see that. Is it because of the arrangement of this? Is it because it's not just the two of us?
It
Hold
should
on.
be so what he's streaming should be capturing just this. So they shouldn't be able to see that the way we set it up.
Yeah, before we had it set up, it was perfect, but then I accidentally closed it and reopened it.
Okay. So you'll
Oh,
have to just
pop out.
change the
That's
window capture.
I think I fixed it. Hold on. Okay, it's working now. It's because we did the pop out thing.
Uh, okay. I was like, I hear them out there. It sounds like something's wrong. I'm coming.
Thank you.
But
Appreciate
now, I guess it doesn't really matter. So it works as long as I don't have my Chrome up. When I open my Chrome, it goes to black, but it doesn't matter because we won't be on the screen when Chrome is up.
Oh, but then it pauses the stream for him though.
But it's okay because it's a still image.
Right, because I would switch to this screen and then bring up my Chrome.
Okay, yeah, as long as you're not watching video, then
Yeah, we're not watching any
okay,
video
okay.
tonight. No, it's just looking at still screens for tonight. So
You could also, if you have the links for it, you could also pull it up on your end over here to look at it too, like on
yeah,
your own screen,
yeah.
which is also another option.
Yep.
Okay, have fun.
Thanks, love you. Probably humping a blanket. That's what he's probably doing. All right, growing pains. We'll get through it.
We ready?
I'm ready, buddy. I'm ready if you are.
All right, do it.
All right, we're live. We're good to go.
Yep.
Welcome back, Button Club members, to another episode of the Safe Sets podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shadow Fury, and with me, as always, is
Ricky Icebeam.
how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. We did a little bit of changing of the reins, and so right now I'm hosting the podcast from my PC setup at home. So we had a couple of technical issues just before we started, but everything seems to be going reasonably smoothly. So we'll see if that continues throughout the episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much for always being a big help with the podcast, with Button Club in general, and to our audience. Thanks for being a big help with keeping us on our toes with anything that we're missing. So be on the lookout for tonight, and thanks for staying with us through some maybe slight growing pains, right?
Yeah, but that's what fighting games are all about, right? It's you lose, you
Right.
get salty, you try harder, you get better. So
That's right.
anything
That's
that
right.
doesn't go right tonight, we'll learn from it and come back stronger.
Yep, yeah. We'll learn more about this streaming matchup. So we have a lot to talk about tonight because since our last episode, there has been so much going on in the world of not just Street Fighter, but in the world of the FGC. But to keep it focused, I think we'll start with just some Street Fighter stuff, right?
Yeah, let me switch over the screen. And we have the Capcom Cup 11 group drawings.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I did not. That sounds really boring.
Dude, I tried to watch it and I couldn't, and it was the same thing. I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm skipping through this, and then by that time, I think someone had already posted this screenshot, so I was like, oh, there's really no need to watch this anymore.
Yeah, I didn't even like try to watch it and then decide that it wasn't worth me sitting here and watching it. I just assumed it would be long and boring. And all I really care about is this screenshot right here. I don't care about, who got picked for, into Group B fourth.
Like the only thing that they tried to hype up was if someone got picked and it conflicted with how the layout of the group had to be, then you're like, oh, like, well, we know this name and they're going to be put in a separate like waiting list now, to go up against the next person. Other than that, it was really just, Rob TV and Brian F doing a great job, of course, with what they had, but just schmoozing all over a picking ceremony, basically.
Yeah, and I don't know how long it was, but I imagine it wasn't short.
Hours, yeah. But so we've got the Capcom Cup 11 coming up soon, and last year I know was kind of a little bit of a mess as to how those death groups right came together. So I think they alleviated that a lot this year with how they had it set up. At first glance, what gets you the most excited about seeing this spread of players?
What gets me excited is, for the most part, the players that I think are the strongest are in separate pools.
Mm, nice. Okay.
And that's not to say that there's not extremely strong players in here. There's just because there's a lot of online qualifications from regions that I'm not as familiar with. I'm sure there's plenty of strong players in here, but I just don't recognize their gamer tag. And I think we talked about this last year. If I don't
Mm.
recognize your gamer tag, I just have to assume you're not as good as Punk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. So Group A,
The Punk group.
the Punk group.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
should come
mean
up with nicknames for each group. So this is the Punk
that's
group.
the Punk group itself is already super stacked. Phenom Takamura, not so much, but Itabashi Zangief. That's a name that I see in there that could definitely. I don't think he like would lead the group, but I could see him, making it out of the group.
Right, because it's two players from each group make it into like the next stage, to
Yeah.
make a top 16 essentially.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
looking at these players, and again, no shade to Salvatore, but I don't recognize your gamer tag. I have to assume you're not winning or making it out of this group. So which two or three players do you think are likely, in your opinion, to make it out of Group A?
So I think Punk and Phenom are like almost a given. They're both exceptional players. They're both playing really, really great characters in the game right now. Itabashi Zangief being like the only other floater, he's just such a legend, and he could, he's definitely a threat in there to steal that spot. Being a Zangief main, even though Zangief's in a great spot, it's gonna be tough to see, right?
Yeah.
Like, because does this mean now that it goes Phenom Takamura, then Hot Dogs versus Salvatore, and then Punk versus Itabashi, or like,
Oh, I'm not actually sure. That's a good point.
like what happens there, or is it round one Phenom and Punk? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, isn't it round robin?
oh, is that how it works? It's going to be round robin.
I thought that that's how it was going to be, is that it's round robin for groups, and then by points, the top two make it out.
Okay, I guess that makes the most sense,
Because there's only
honestly.
6 people in each group, so it wouldn't be like a double elimination bracket.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
but just talking about like the strength of these players, I would say that Hot Dog 29 is extremely strong, and I would say he has a chance to make it out of this pool. However,
Mm.
I think Bison loses to Geef, and I think Bison fights. So Phenom's playing Ken. I think he fights Ken reasonably well, but I think Ken's just extremely strong right now.
Yeah.
And then Punk is just, in my opinion, if not the best, top 5 in the world, like free. And so you just have to assume that Punk's making it out and everyone else is fighting for the second slot. So seeing that Hot Dog's extremely powerful Bison's gonna have to fight against Phenoms Ken and Itabashi Zangief's Zangief, I have to assume that even though Hot Dog is strong enough to make it out, I think the character matchups are not in his favor.
You said Hot Dog's playing Bison.
I believe so. He was a Bison main in 5.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And with
Interesting.
Bison being as strong as he is, I don't see why, him or like Problem X wouldn't be playing that character.
I agree. I agree. Are those the standouts for you? Like, period. Like, that's how you see the whole Group A going, basically. Also.
Yeah, the other thing I will mention, at least as far as I can recall, I believe Takamura is playing Akuma, and Akuma is just a wild card character. He's extremely powerful, high risk, high reward. So, in theory, Takamura could make it out of this pool, with a few upsets that Akuma's very capable of pulling off.
Mm-hmm.
And again, no shade to Salvatore. I just have to assume that he's not making it out because I don't know who they are.
I actually want to see if I can find a picture of them because I can't really place the name with it at all. No.
And then you want to move on to Group B?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
So this is the Noah group,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
Noah the problem lately, huh?
yeah, it's interesting that Noah's clearly a very strong player. He's in Capcom Cup. There's no debating that. I just think that for whatever reason, whether it's because he's young or he's relatively new to the Street Fighter scene, he just rubs people the wrong way. I think some people see him as a Smash player who happens to be playing Street Fighter, but they don't respect him as a Street Fighter god, which he's proving that he is.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am of the opinion that what Noah's doing in Street Fighter 6 right now is similar to what Punk did in Street Fighter 5, where he seemed to come out of nowhere and he was beating all the best players. And in the beginning, when Punk was first winning, everybody thought it was a fluke or that, Karen's secretly broken and nobody figured it
Yeah.
out except for Punk. And it took like almost a whole year for people to realize like, oh, this kid's the real deal. And I think Noah's, kind of in the spotlight now as the new kid on the block.
I agree. I agree. And they Noah and Punk also had that very interesting I don't want to call it an altercation, but Punk kind of got in Noah's face at Street Fighter League.
Oh, right, right.
And because there was some beef there, whatever. So it's like really interesting to see that also a snowball between these two, and to each be in their own separate group. I also find that interesting.
Yeah, so for Group B, which players stand out to you? Again, because only 2 players can make it out. Which, like, 2 or 3 do you think are in the top of this group?
So obviously Noah, but it's JB and NL for me, honestly. JB playing Rashid and having great success at Street Fighter League, he could totally do it. And then NL is no joke with his Akuma. So I think those three really jump out amongst Group B compared to the rest of the 6 there.
Yeah, Salty Kid sounds familiar, but I don't recall who they are.
Mm-hmm.
SI Anik I've never heard of before. What about Grand Todaikai? Is that someone that,
Kodakai?
yeah, who is that? Do you know?
No, I don't. Let me. I've seen that name, but there is a lot of Japanese sounding names on players that are not.
Oh, true.
Sometimes it messes me up. I'm like, wait, is that so and so?
Yeah, and again, the tough thing for me is I don't really follow these online qualifications, and so this might be the best player in a region that I just don't, unfortunately don't pay attention to. But yeah,
Okay.
just
It
with the
says here.
names, yeah, go ahead.
It says here, Hitbox sponsored, and last year for the Pro Tour they were playing JP. So this is their second year at the Capcom Cup. So,
Nice.
also, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, so just talking about Group B in general, because I'm not gonna be able to say that. Grand Todakai is not
Okay.
familiar to me, nor is Salty Kid or Anik. I'm kind of stuck with the same three that you're picking, which is NL, who's clearly a strong player. He's made it to Capcom Cup in the past. JB, arguably, if not the best, the top two Rashid players in the world. Him and uh, Big Bird,
Mm-hmm.
and then clearly Noah the Prodigy, who's the best Luke on the planet because everybody else has dropped him, and just an incredibly strong and I would say like a fresh player. Like he's new to the spotlight. He kind of has the momentum in his favor, and also he plays
He's
kind
like
of risky.
rivaling in it.
He
Yes, he does. Yep.
which also kind of reminds me of how Ending Walker played, because at the end of Street Fighter V, when Ending Walker kind of like bursted out onto the scene, he was like beating people like very convincingly, but also playing in like a very disrespectful way, similar to the way Noah plays now. Because like Ending Walker's
Mm.
like famous moments are like he has a really really strong player. Like I think he was playing. I'm gonna forget the name now. He's a really, really strong Japanese player. He played Ken and why can't I think of his name?
Mochi.
Momochi. I think he was playing Momochi in Street Fighter V, and like he was beating him up. And I think he was like perfecting him. He was like had him in the corner, and then he just walked up and then ripped a OD knuckle in his
Yeah, I know. I
the
know what
EX
you're
knuckle in
talking
his face, and it hit him.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was
See, not
him.
disrespectful. It was brilliant, actually.
I think it was both.
Yeah. He just knew.
He's like, you're gonna
Um.
have to delay tech here because this is a terrible
Yep.
spot for you. But so I think Noah the Prodigy, JP, and NL all have really good shots at making it out of Group B, and unfortunately, only two of them will. And so, if I had to pick two to root for, it would be Noah and JB, because I think Rashid's extremely strong right now, and he's underrepresented. And I want to make sure that character doesn't fly under the radar when it's time for a balance patch.
That's right. I looked up. Anik also is a Luke main,
Oh, nice.
so there'll be at least two in that group there. So.
Yeah, I still think Luke's a pretty strong character. I just think if you're trying to be the best, you should play the strongest characters. And if you're playing a character like Luke, who's like I would argue like A tier, like he's very good, but he's not as good as Ken, then I think you need a pocket character to cover your bad matchups.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think Luke is a strong character and not busted.
Yep.
I think Luke's in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, if they do
Um,
nothing to Luke and like just barely nerf some of the characters that are stronger than him, then
mm,
season threes will be in harmony.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
And then Group C.
yeah,
Group C is
so
also loaded.
is it just me? Does it seem like at least for these first three groups, like the strongest player in the group is at the bottom?
Well, I think the way it's laid out was also how they won their spot into Capcom Cup.
Oh, so maybe the bottom one is like the offline qualifiers?
Every group had to fulfill a certain criteria and make it lay out there so just to ensure that the same territories weren't fighting against each other all the time. So that's why that might look like that.
I see.
Because yeah, three in a row, right? Noah, Punk, and now Taquito.
Yeah, so this group C is looking pretty stacked. Uh,
Yeah.
Tokido's clearly a favorite. Um, Dual Kevin's extremely strong. He's playing
Dude,
Rashid. I can't
Dual
remember if he's
Kevin is
playing.
on a tear.
He's on a tear, and this is another player that I really want to make it out of this group to shine light to Rashid being as strong as he is. Because I feel like
Hmm.
Rashid's, a lot of people complain about Ken because he's so common. I feel like Rashid is either as good as Ken or like slightly better than Ken. But because he's not as popular as a character, no one's complaining. Because like you run to a
Mm.
Rashid in ranked, you get destroyed, and then you don't see another Rashid for 30 matches, and so it doesn't feel as bad where you run into a Ken like every 5 matches.
I'll agree to that because picking up Ken by comparison to picking up Rashid, and yes, Rashid is hella strong, but I was fumbling trying to pilot Ken at times, let alone adding the Rashid into the mix.
Right, and besides like the gameplay mechanics, I think aesthetically a lot of players just don't see him as like their character. Like they just don't like there's a lot of players that will only play like female characters or they'll only play male characters or like they like the big characters or
Hmm.
whatever, but Rashid is kind of like a rush down Shoto and yeah, I guess it's almost like with Dalsim mains, right? It's like there's not a lot of people playing Dalsim if you're not a Dalsim main, and that's how Rashid feels to me. It's like Rashid mains are playing Rashid, and even though everyone agrees he's good, if you're not a Rashid main, you just don't really touch the character.
And then by the time you run into one, you don't know that matchup that well, so you get cleaned even harder. So it kind of makes it snowballs that effect into wanting to be like, man, like can we do something about this character because I'm not seeing them everywhere, and I just got washed by one.
Yeah. So with this group C, I think the top three that stand out to me is going to be Tokido, Dual Kevin, and Kakaru. Even though Jabin is an extremely strong player, I think he might have made it out of his group in Capcom Cup last year. I remember he had some result that was, surprising to a lot of people. I think he had like beaten Tokido in a tournament.
I agree. I think that's the standout three, and otherwise anything else would be an upset, right?
Yeah, and like I said, even though Jabhim has had results in the past, I don't I see him as the fourth in this group, and that's just because Halle Bell, who's the top slot, and Zangief Bellado, I'm not as familiar with them, and so I just have to assume they're not as good.
Not at all. Like if you told me, like if someone was to say, "Hey, so what do you think of Zangief Bellado and Capcom 11?" I'd be like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?"
Exactly. Or like if you asked me to name as many players as I could that I can recall are in Capcom Cup, I would not have named Zangief Bellado.
Yeah, like all right, this name is either in Capcom Cup or it's made up. Ready? Zangief Bellado.
Yeah, that's a 50
Halibel, you know?
that's a 50-50.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I think we agree on Group C. Let's move on to Group D. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have everybody's favorite Broski.
Yeah.
Bravery, I'm not as familiar with. VX Bao had a lot of results in Street Fighter V. Blaze, I'm
Mm.
not very familiar with. IDOM, Capcom Cup champion, everybody knows. And Armperer, I've never heard of.
I think Blaze is a young kid.
Oh, that's right. Is he like was he like a 15-year-old Ken main or something?
Yeah. He's the new prodigy, Blaze the prodigy.
Yeah, yeah, Blaze the Prodigy.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll be our youngest competitor at Capcom Cup by far.
That's amazing. That's like so good to see because I think at least, more or less in our community, most of the Street Fighter players are like in their late 20s or in their 30s or even, more. But
Mhm.
like I don't know if there's any Street Fighter players that are local that besides Toasty, because he's what, like 19 or 20?
He's gonna be 21 in a month or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's 20 going on 21, and I'm pretty sure he's the youngest by far by like 5 years or more.
Yeah, because anyone that's come in that was younger was playing Guilty Gear. They were more attracted to that game than Street Fighter.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of, younger teenage, early 20s Street Fighter 6 players. It's just for whatever reason, either they know about Button Club and they are choosing not to come out, which is a mistake, or they don't know about us and we need to find a way to reach that audience. But it is an
Yeah.
interesting thing. Like you can almost tell what game someone came to play based on their age. Like if you're 35, you're probably there to play Street Fighter.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Um.
But
So
back to Group
go ahead.
D, I think it's clear to say IDOM's the favorite to make it out of that group.
IDOM, yeah, I think the obvious ones would be IDOM, Broski, but I think I think this. Uh, I was just gonna say this group seems a little more balanced, but I'm taking that back because I feel like Emperor, Bravery, and Blaze like are great players, and I've heard of all three of them. Only Blaze that I was able to put a face to, but the other players I just can't really think of who they are. But like, yeah, I guess it's just Idom Broski for me.
Yeah,
Maybe some Bow. That's it.
yeah, and for me, it's like IDOM's the clear winner of this group, or at worst, he gets upset and still makes it out in the second slot. But then for the other five, for me, I almost have to see it as like a tie. And I don't mean any disrespect by this, and Broski's a really strong player, but I feel like he's like content creator strong, kind of how like Brian F is, where it's like, yes, they're good enough to make top eights in tournaments, but I never expect them to get first place in any tournament that they enter. And I feel like with these groups being as stacked as they are, you basically have to be the kind of player that is getting first or second place regularly in big tournaments in order just to make it out of your group. And I
Yeah.
don't see that. I don't see Broski as in that echelon. And so because I don't
Mm.
perceive him as being that strong, I think any of these other five players could take it as the second slot.
Wow. Any of them. Interesting. Hmm. You are pretty convincing with that. I kind of feel like I need to just see VX bow real quick.
Yeah, VXBAL, the
Yeah.
names are very familiar. I saw a lot of their results from Street Fighter 5 days, but not super familiar. Can't put a face to the
Mm.
name.
All right. I mean, not that I'm easily swayed, but I would say I do agree. IDOM is someone who's gonna definitely come in and has the potential to win a major. These other names here, I have not seen them do the same, or at least not in a long time. So, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to Group E. We have Mr.
Group E.
Crimson, we have Diva, who I've not heard of, we have Fudo, we
Mm.
have Limestone, who I've not heard of, we have Chris CCH, and we have Mena RD.
Chris CCH has also had a really good run in Street Fighter 6 and even towards the end of 5. So he's definitely in that contention, but if we're going to bring it to um the prerequisites that you brought up, someone that is going to win a major, that is Mr. Crimson, Fudo, and Mena, 100%. And I think the only thing that puts Mr. Crimson maybe at a disadvantage is being a Dalsum main. But that like that matchup thing, it's so explosive. It could go either way, right?
Yeah, and Dalsum's interesting because I think at like a quote unquote low level, like at like platinum and below, the character is just a menace. Nobody knows how to deal with anything. Um, so you can just blow players up for not knowing the matchup. And I feel like, Diamond and Master up to like, I don't know, like 17 or 1800 MR, he's a good character, but he's beatable if you can, put him in the corner and make him guess. But at
Yeah.
this high level, that's like 2000 MR plus, the players that are here at Capcom Cup, I'm not sure how strong Dalsum is. It could very well be that like at an extremely high level, Dalsum's not scary at all because they're just perfect parrying everything and optimal punishes and really scary mix-ups. And so
Mm,
even though I agree that Mr. Crimson is strong enough to win a major tournament, I'm not so sure at this level of play if Dalsum is strong enough. But like at
mm.
the level of play that we're at, where we're in master rank, we're not close to 2000 MR yet. Um, I'm sure Mr. Crimson would wipe the floor with us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's true. That's true. He has taken some big names, but that is, yeah, I knew that the character would be decisive in some way. So I guess it would really come down to Mena and Fudo, right? There's no way Mena's not making it out of there, and Fudo has the experience to definitely get out of there.
Yeah, and also Fudo, notorious for getting second places. So he could just get second place in this group and swim right out of this pool.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so even though I agree that Mr. Crimson and Chris CCH are extremely strong players and they are capable of making out of this pool, yeah, my top two picks is Mena and Fudo.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. We got Group F with starting off strong with Big Bird.
Yep, so
Then you got
yeah, go ahead.
what's that?
I
And
was
then
gonna
you got
say,
Oil King. So two Rashids back to back right there, right?
yeah, a lot of Rashids in Capcom Cup, which is kind of, I want to say ironic, but I mean that,
Unironically.
no, yeah, exactly. That there's a lot of Rashids in this stacked tournament because the character is so strong, even though the character has low representation.
That's four already that we've picked out
Yeah,
from players that we know.
and I'm not going to do the work for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were to figure out how many of each character is in the Capcom Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if Rashid is towards the top of character usage.
Mm. And then you got Xian, who I'm not sure who they're playing these days.
I have to assume he's still playing DJ, but I don't know
Yeah,
that for sure. And he could also have a few pocket characters up his sleeve. He might even bust out a Mai.
yeah, that's true.
That's his kind of character.
Uriel Valerio, I've seen him in the Street Fighter League. I'm pretty sure he's a Ken player also from the Dominican. Then you got Just a Kid and then Lashar. Lashar, I can't really think of who that is
I,
face wise.
if I'm remembering correctly, I think he has like relatively long hair, and I think he was
Yep.
playing Chun around this time last year.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And I think
100%. Oh, and an Ed. They have a legend Ed also.
yes, yeah. So I think Lashar made it out of his pool last year, and that was a big upset to a lot of people because they didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I might have even said in this, the podcast that we did a year ago about this topic, I might have even said, Lashar, I've never heard of you. Sorry, I have to assume you're not making it out. And then they made it
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
So
yep. And back for a second year, so still grinding. So this is a little bit more of a stacked group. I think when I was catching it, one of these they were like this might be the hell group from last year. Like this one might be like the most stacked one so far.
yeah, it might be. Um, but kind of thinking about, even though there's like, Evo champions in here and, Capcom Cup, or I mean, Evo second place. Um, there's a lot of strong players in this group, but kind of like we were saying before, like who are the real killers in this group? Who's the killer amongst killers? And so I have to say, like, for Just a Kid, I kind of see him in the same mindset of if he goes to a major and he gets top eight, that's totally, good and respectable, but I don't expect him to win that major.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, Just a Kid's out. Same thing with Uriel Valorio. I'm just not
Yeah.
as familiar with his game, and so I have to assume he's not making it. Zien is an extremely strong, legendary player for years and years. I believe he won Evo in like 2014 or something.
Mm,
But again, I don't think he has the recent results to really make me see him as at the head of this group. And same thing with
mm-hmm.
Oil King. I think Oil King had a lot of success in Street Fighter V. I haven't heard as much about him in Street Fighter 6.
I think Big Bird is the top Rashid, the more talked about Rashid 100% between those two, right?
Yeah, agreed. I think Big Bird's the number one Rashid in the world, and I also think like earlier I was saying that Punk is probably number one in the world, but he's definitely top five, and Big Bird's in that same category. I think he's top five in the
Mm,
world right now. And
mm-hmm,
Evo proved
mm-hmm.
that. I mean, he gave him second place.
Yeah. So who are you two for Group F? Do you have two or three?
So Big Bird is the number one for me from Group F, and then the second from Group F I think is Lashar.
Bashar. Nice. I'd love to see it.
What do you think?
Um. Hmm.
Although I wouldn't be opposed to two Rashids making it out of every group because the more Rashids we see, the more nerfs we'll be getting.
That's actually exactly where I was gonna go. I was gonna go. You know what? What if two Rashids made it out of the same thing, and it was just that? So that's gonna be my pick. I'll go with that because I can't. Other after Big Bird, it's really hard to go with. So.
True. So Group G, we have Juicy Joe, we have Kills You, we have
Mm-hmm.
Zhao Hai, Kaba,
Mm.
Knuckle and Nephew. So this group is pretty stacked as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so right away we have the Kaba and Knuckle Do battle. Do you know anything about this somewhat guile beef that these two have with each other?
I mean, it's clear that they're the top two guiles in the world, but I don't know
Uh-huh.
about any recent beefs.
So Kaba beat Knuckle Do. I think it was in an online tournament or somehow beat him and basically was like, "I'm the best guile. Me, I'm the best guile." So there was like some clapping back and forth on Twitter, and Knuckle Do postured up pretty high with like a $10,000 money match, and even agreed to go and fly himself to the DR to do it and everything. But it hasn't happened. And on top of that, they were both in Street Fighter League also, and every time that they have played against each other since. Knuckle Do never goes Guile against Kaba. He always goes Cammy, his alternate to this
Right.
game. So I'm wondering if we're going to see that here again. Are we really going to get the Guile matchup here?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a guile mirror match. I think that mirror match is miserable for both players.
Yeah.
I also am of the opinion that Kaba is the best guile in the world, And even though NuckleDu is known for his guile, so like Kaba has the better guile in my opinion, but NuckleDu is the stronger player.
Because NuckleDu is playing Cammy on top of its covers band matchup, so that's what excludes him from being like the best guile, but makes him like have better results. You think?
I think NuckleDu uses the best tool for the job, whether it's Guile or Cammy or some other character. He's like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I think he's a stronger player than Kaba, and he uses the right tool for the job. I think Kaba is extremely strong. Don't get me wrong. No, no, a hair weaker than NuckleDu in my opinion, but he only uses Guile, and so his
Mm-hmm.
Guile is better than NuckleDu's Guile, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
if they were both to enter Evo and only allowed to use Guile, Kaba would make it further. But NuckleDu, being the stronger player, will choose the right tool in the right situation, and he can use multiple characters. So I would imagine, you know, I didn't look at the result, but I'm assuming that NuckleDu, or I would bet that NuckleDu would make it farther in a big tournament like Evo than Kaba would.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even in Street Fighter League, NuckleDu more often beat Kaba because he was just gonna pick Cammy that match anyway. So.
Right, and Kaba, at least as far as we're aware of, doesn't have any pocket characters that are strong enough that it's worth switching off of Guile to use.
Mm-hmm.
But
So those
anyways,
guys.
yeah, so
So
besides
yeah.
those two, is there anyone else in this group that you think is strong enough to make it out?
So I talked about it a little bit on Monday that the Street Fighter Six Battle Hub has their own voting chart for the Capcom Cup 11, and then that player is in this group, and it is Xiaohai.
Yep.
I think Xiaohai is just killing it this year. He's doing well. He's come off of the EWC victory. He's playing multiple characters. He's not pigeonholed into anything. So just like you were saying, I think he's doing a great job of picking the right character for the job. And I mean, I don't know what it is. That speech that he gave at the end of that EWC, I would love to see him win this also. I'd love that.
Yeah, so there's a few other really strong players in this group as well with Killzyu and Nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hate to say it, but I just don't think Killzyu and Nephew are as strong as Xiaohai, Kaba, and NuckleDu.
Yep. I think they have their work cut out for them um, inside of that group for sure.
Yeah, I think they're like within striking distance. I think they're totally capable of making it out. It's just in order to do so, they have to upset who, in my opinion, are stronger players.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
because we were talking about Kaba and NuckleDu and how NuckleDu's a stronger player and he plays multiple characters and he'll counterpick Kaba, I think that uh, because NuckleDu's going to counterpick Kaba, I don't think Kaba's going to make it out of this group. And so my two picks for this group is going to be Xiaohai and NuckleDu.
Yeah, I think that's fair, 100%. And then Group H,
Talking
the
about
last.
Guiles, we have Lex,
Yeah,
who is
I hate.
JB's baby brother.
Yep, yep. Lives in Europe, has a completely different vibe and everything than his brother does. I love the difference.
Yeah, like Rashida's like wild and crazy character, like flying around the screen. Guile's holding down back, not allowing you to fly around the screen.
Yep, yep. So
Uh,
I'm excited to see how he does in this. I'm not. I think he made it. I'm not sure if he made it in last year, but I know he's been doing well. Like since Street Fighter Six has been out, this is like his come up story for him. So.
Yeah, he also had some pretty good results in Street Fighter V, but I agree it was like during the lifespan of Street Fighter V was he was, really learning how to play the game and getting stronger. And now that Street Fighter 6 has started, it's kind of like a fresh start. Guile's good in this game. No reason why he can't make it this far.
Mm-hmm. And
So
then
then
of
we
course
also
we got.
have Angry Bird. We have Soul, who I'm not familiar with.
Yep.
We have Juninho Raz, who the name is familiar, but I can't put a face to the name. We have Shuto, who is like the strongest guile in Japan. And then we have Kusanagi. Um, I'm familiar with Kusanagi, but I can't recall who they're playing in this game.
I think that's the Ryu player that got sponsored by Victrix.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah, so that's probably the only Ryu in Capcom Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
I just want to make sure. Yep, yeah, that's who that is. Yeah, so you have a Ryu. We
Yeah,
have
we
a
have
Ryu
one
here
we
in
have one
Capcom.
Ryu and like 9 Rashids.
Yeah.
And quite a few Guiles. And I think
Yeah,
Guile's
yeah.
another
Guile,
character.
Ken.
I think Guile and Rashid are both in a similar boat where I think they're both S tier characters with low representation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Group H for me, I definitely see Angry Bird making it out there. He would have to have a pretty rough day to not make it out.
Yeah, he's one of the strongest
Um,
players in the world, and he's playing Ken. It's like a match made in heaven.
And then I think for me it would be a coin flip between only because I know these players more than Shuto and the other one. It would either be Lex or Kusanagi. I might lean a little bit more into Lex, but Kusanagi could totally do it. So we'll see.
Yeah, so
How about you?
I'm gonna disagree with you, and well, I'm gonna agree that Angry Bird's gonna make it out. I think he's the top player in this group as far as results go. But the number two for me is actually Shuto. I think he's incredibly strong.
Yeah, you think he's the strongest Guile?
Besides Kaba, I think Kaba's the strongest guy in the world. I think Shuto is the second strongest guy in the world. And I could be wrong.
Wow.
Maybe he's better than Kaba, but
Mm-hmm.
like when I think of strong Guile players, those two come to mind first, and then Knuckledew, and then the memory of Daigo playing Guile.
The memory of that. The head down that you like did when you said that, like
I'm a
remembering
little
indeed.
upset that Daigo's not playing Guile in this game because Guile's so good.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. But he's in Shoto land, so
Yeah, he's playing S tier characters. He's picking the easy
so
way out.
yeah, sticking with Ken, keeping it safe. But altogether, I think a great spread of players. Obviously, everyone here, deserves it. They've worked hard throughout so many different avenues through the Capcom tour to get here. And then so one, what about the schedule? How does this all break down throughout the different days?
Let me bring that up very quickly.
Because I think the last day on that Sunday is top 8 or top 16.
Let's see this.
Oh, schedule, yeah.
Why is it not showing the schedule?
I think there was a different link that was in the
Oh,
our safe sets from last week's.
yeah. Let me see if I can find that quickly.
I know we talked about it, but I was kind of like reading it and not retaining it, unfortunately. Let me see how we're doing in the chat. We got anybody in the chat over here?
Let me just see if I can find it.
Yo, we got Temper. What's going on? So Temper says that he's Zian, for the W. Only DJ. And he's playing Ed now. That's interesting.
Okay, here we go. We got the schedule.
Okay, let's go. So, group stage elimination day 1.
I just wanted to cut you off really quick. I think when Temper said he's playing Edna, I think he was talking about
Oh, that player that was playing Chun Li previously.
yes, Lashar.
Lashar. Okay, Lashar.
Yeah, so March 5th, which let me check my calendar, is exactly 2 weeks from today, so that's a Wednesday.
Hell yeah.
So
So we're gonna have like so many days of Capcom content to digest from like Thursday to Monday.
what's interesting is that there's 3 days of group stage eliminations, but there's 8 groups, so that doesn't really divide into three equally. So I'm curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. I'm pretty sure they left it like super general. I was like, so what? Like, how much do we get through if it's three days of eliminations? And there was how many categories? There was
There's eight
8.
groups of 6 players, and so I think that means every player has to play 5 times.
Mm,
So there's 40 matches total, if my math is correct.
okay.
Well, no, that's not right. Not 40 matches total, because it's 5 per player. So 30, 15 per group times 8. Is that right? 120 matches divided by 3. So maybe there's 40 matches a day.
Mm.
But my math could be off. That was just quick math.
Yeah. Quick minutes.
Yeah,
Temper also said Higuchi is the guy you were thinking of, and that is Higuchi is an amazing guy I've seen on YouTube before, which I'm surprised they're not represented here in the tour.
yeah, he is right. Higuchi was the Japanese guy I was thinking of, but I believe Shuto is also an extremely strong guile, and that's why I was
Mhm.
confused. But yeah, I think Higuchi is the number one guile from Japan.
There was a name I was like, there's another guy, but I can't think of it, and that was the name there.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep track of because not only are there so many players, but at least for me, a lot of the Japanese names are. It's not that they're not memorable, but it's like harder for me to grasp them because it's not like English words that I'm remembering.
Mm. And sometimes the Japanese players remain more like faceless, so it's just a name, and it's harder to. I'm a face person, so I need to see that in order to identify with the name.
Yeah, and then also now that the tour works differently, like before COVID, you would see all the top players from every country traveling and going to all these tournaments, all these offline tournaments. You'd see them on stream. You see the Itabashi Zengi versus Nemo handshake, and so we just don't see it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we have
Cool.
3 days of group stage eliminations, which I have to be completely honest. Even though I'm excited for Capcom Cup and I love Street Fighter, I don't think I'm actually going to take the time and watch these live.
No, I'm not even like I'm someone who likes to have things on in the background, even if it doesn't get my full attention. So I'll probably have it on while I do other things. But
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there intently and sit through all the ads and everything else that it goes along with it. I'll probably
yeah.
wait and like maybe on the 6th I'll like hop on YouTube and watch some of the matches from the 5th and so on. But it's only going to be the matches that are like really really hyped to me.
Mm. And then the Sunday is what it's the top 16. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Let me just double check. So the 8th is a Saturday,
Mm. Oh,
and then the Sunday is the Street Fighter League World Championship for
oh,
150,000. And I thought this was
I
really
messed up.
interesting. I think this should be flipped
Yeah, I literally was
because
like, go ahead.
I think once the top 16 Capcom Cup is over, everyone's done watching. The season's over. I don't think anyone's going to tune in on the 9th on a Sunday to watch the Street Fighter League World Championships. But I think if they were to have the World Championships on the 8th and the Capcom Cup top 16 on the 9th, then people might still kind of like be tuning in every day. And also, I think it would be nice to give the players an extra day of like rest before the top 16.
Mm, that's
Especially because I think
true.
a lot of the players in the top 16 are going to be in Street Fighter League.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of bleed over there, so they'll have their like another chance to play and for some glory. But that is so odd. I know we looked at this last week, but I feel like I just saw Capcom Cup 11 March 8th and didn't think past that. I just completely forgot about the 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 league and it being I was already inviting people over to my house for Sunday to watch the Capcom Cup 11.
Well, to be fair, that might still be a good idea because instead of watching it live and having to deal with all the ads and the breaks and whatnot that we're unfortunately used to at this point, maybe you have
Yeah.
a watch, maybe you don't watch it, and then on Sunday the 9th you watch it on YouTube and skip all past all the ads and all the breaks.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that changes my weekend. Okay. Well, there
Yeah,
you go. There you have it.
and in years past, I had done the unfortunate thing of staying up late to watch Evo Grand Finals and Capcom Grand Finals, and I think I'm over it. I think that the production value that they provide, like I said, with all the ads and the breaks and showing clips of Knuckle Dew playing Street Fighter 4 in between matches, I think I'm just over it. I'll wake up on Sunday morning. I'll see someone on Twitter tell me who won and I'll be happy or sad, and then I'll probably go and watch the top 16 on YouTube at my own pace.
Yeah. Sometimes if I know, because like Saturday night, those results are going to be all over Twitter. There's no way I'm avoiding Twitter on a Saturday night. So I'm
Right.
going to end up seeing it, and then that will kind of like take the piss out of it for me to want to watch because I'll be like, oh, so and so won. Well, there you go.
Speaking of take the piss out, I'm going to take a very quick bathroom break if that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead. I'll hang out with
Okay.
the chat for a few
Let me
minutes here.
pause.
We got
Remember.
here. We got Beefcake in the chat. Thank you so much. And Inhuman here says Shuto dropped Marissa. Once the best Urian besides Nemo, buff Marissa. This guy's still talking about Marissa. I think you're the only person still talking about Marissa at this point, actually, because everyone else forgot she was in the flipping game, right? So, chat, tell me who do you guys? I want to know Temper. Who's in your radar to win this whole thing? Yes, City of Wolves, dude. I'm very excited for City of Wolves. I've been watching a lot of content for it recently so I can learn um all the mechanics and what to expect from that game and the characters. So yeah, I'll be downloading that beta. That's tonight at 3 a.m., right? And tomorrow I have a short work day. So I'm gonna go to work, do what I gotta do, come home, and I'm gonna play a bunch of City of Wolves. Inhuman, who are you gonna play? Who are you looking at in this game? Because they showed off a character recently, and that's exactly who I'll be playing. I want to see. Maybe we're like-minded in that. I want to see who you'll be playing. Beefcake, same. Super excited for the beta. Yeah, we can transition right into that as our next topic if you guys want. Actually, since they're already bringing it up, the chat's talking about City of Wolves, my friend.
Let's talk about it. Let me.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Do we want to watch this? It's 1 minute.
Yeah, you can watch it and just mute it. Yeah, hell yeah. Or soft. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for all the mechanics in this game. That's what's really
I'm
got
not
me
unmute it
going.
and just put it low.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I haven't seen this. I don't really know anything about this.
Okay. Feast your eyes on the future.
I like the art style on the characters. It's almost like a cell shaded type of deal.
Mm-hmm. It's got a beautiful like pop art looking. I love the half tone shaders on things.
Yeah, I feel like we're at a point where you can only get so realistic, so you might as well go like a little bit, almost cartoony.
I like it. It just looks like a great classic fighter to me. So you still get 2 unique control schemes. They have their own thing.
Oh, kind of like modern and classic.
Yeah, like auto combo stuff. Okay, here you go.
So
Wait,
let me
that was
pause
it?
this. Yeah. So open beta test February 20th through the 24th. So
So that should be tonight at 3 a.m. We'll be able to download that and start playing it.
interesting. And what's amazing to me, and I'm so glad to see it, it's on PS5 and PS4, which I feel like at this point in time, like when PS5 first came out, people had a hard time getting their hands on it, and so it made sense for things like Street Fighter 6 to also be released on PS4. But now
Yeah.
that it's been a couple years, I feel like if they only did PS5 and not PS4, not that many people would be angry about that. So it's like a nice bonus that they're also releasing it on PS4.
I agree.
And then same thing with the
Yeah.
Xbox Series X and S, because the X is the
Mhm.
more powerful. The X is the PS5 and the S is the PS4.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. They're both kind of showing off, right?
Yeah.
Both generations.
And then Steam, which is just every generation for all time.
Exactly. Till the end of time.
But it's also nice to
Um,
see when a game like this, or like a game like Street Fighter 6 releases and comes out on PS4 as well, that lets you kind of know that it's not going to be an intensive game computing wise, and so it's going to run like butter on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And if you have a decent gaming PC, it's also going to run no problem. If it was a
mhm.
game that could only be released on PS5 and couldn't be released on PS4, then it might be, more intense.
And that helps us out at Button Club too, because we still do have several PlayStation 4s hanging around. So, we don't want to take away from some of the other games that are, still really, really big and popular. Although I would love for this to be a really big and popular game at Button Club. We have that option. Of course, I want to run it on a PS5, but if we needed an extra setup, we at least have that option because of the availability on the PlayStation 4.
So that's a good, thing to bring up with Button Club specifically. Where will this game fit into the schedule? Will it be a fifth game?
I
Will it
think
will it take Strive's spot for a few weeks and see how it goes?
think that's what has to happen. I think it'll have to take Strive's spot. Strive came back so hot and heavy with season 4, and that's now starting to dwindle again. And like this week, at Button Club it was 5 people,
And were
and those
those?
are the diehards.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask, were those 5 people also in other brackets? I guess I'm
Oh,
I'm
every
asking,
other bracket.
what is it?
Yep, every other bracket because I was in 3. I was in Guilty Gear, Street Fighter 6, and Third Strike. Mike V is in everything.
Yep.
Bry Guy is in everything, except for Retro. I think same. Boltazo was the other player, and he doesn't play 6, but plays everything else. So yeah, that bracket, although 5 people, it takes a little bit longer to get through. But
Well, not only that, but if we were to have not run Strive, then we would have still had the same head count in Button Club that night.
that's true. There's no one there just specifically for that game. That is true. So I mean, something has to give, right? Something
Right.
has to go. And if there's double digit numbers of people signing up to want to play this game in April when it comes out, then it is what it is. I can play Strive with my friends anytime, anywhere. But this being the big game, yeah, we have to run this hard, and I think that would be the game to go, unfortunately, because and we also have to consider every other game still to come out. 2XKO, Virtua Fighter. There's still so much left in the buffet line. So
Right, and what'll be interesting is if any of these games end up being so big that they have the staying power that like Street Fighter and Tekken have, then there might be like 3 games that are on all the time, and then Retro's always there, and then instead of having a 4th game, it'll be a 5th game, which will be like the new upcoming releases that are only exciting for a couple of months and then kind of die out.
So that was the next thing I was gonna say. I'm trying to get my brother Karate Kevin excited about this game because he's kind of feeling a certain way about his enthusiasm with Street Fighter 6. And I don't think it's a Street Fighter 6 problem. I just think that I think Kevin's also used to the Mortal Kombat NetherRealm cycle. So now that we're getting close to that 2-year mark, it's just getting a little dry for him. So I really want him to play this game because this game is so rich with mechanics beyond I think what Street Fighter 6 has right now. Although it takes inspiration from Street Fighter 6, I think they're adding. They've got the perfect block. They've got the slow motion high low crushes, which I think is so sick, kind of like Tekken.
Yep.
There was a really cool example in one of the videos where Terry's doing his burn knuckle in, and Mai sweeps him, and that nice little slow down and counter hit. And then the burnout system or the overheat system being that now you have a guard meter when you're in overheat, and now I can break your guard, kind of blow you up anywhere on the screen, rather than in Street Fighter 6, we're getting a drive impact wall stun kind of thing. So there's a lot of mechanics in here that are just so interesting to me.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see it, and I hope that other players are too. I hope that it excites people who are already at Button Club to join this bracket, and I also hope it excites some people who are at home to leave their house to come to Button Club just to play in
Mm-hmm.
this bracket.
Yeah, we've already made a channel for it. Can you go back a couple of seconds on this so I can see the full cast? It shows every character that's going to be coming into
Was
the
oh,
right there. Yeah. So this is the cast that we'll be able to play during the beta, and this gentleman in the middle with the blonde hair, the white coat, and the black
Yep.
glove there, that's my guy. This is the first character that I've seen in this game to be like, ooh, that's him right there.
And what's the character's name?
His name is Kane or Kain, Kain. Now they showed off a trailer for him at the Evo Awards. I don't know if you want to pull that up real quick. This character kind of excited me and showed me a blend of 2 characters, and I'd love to see what you think of it.
So it's Kane trailer.
Yeah, Fatal Fury, yeah. Yeah,
We got ads. 1 second.
it's all good. I don't mind looking at Ryan Reynolds,
That's fair.
So he was the bad guy, the big boss at the original Fatal Fury game.
Oh, he was the M Bison,
Yeah.
who you play in 6. I'm seeing a
Yeah.
trend.
Okay, and then you'll see another trend shortly. Ready? Yeah.
Interesting. Is that a flash kick?
Yep, and
Oh
then
my
look at
god, this
the
character.
wrong traps. Dive kick. Hell yeah. Here you go. Ready? All right,
Yeah,
and
that
this next bit is his like hidden super. It takes every resource and SPG, and he makes it rain.
that is so cool. That definitely looks like your kind of character.
Dude, they showed that, and I was like, I'm in love, and that sparked everything. They showed off that and the open beta trailer, so I'm like, okay, I'm invested. So the last couple of days, I've just been taking in so much Fatal Fury information.
Yeah, like I saw the horizontal fireballs and then the up fireballs. I was like, oh, it's like Goken. And then I saw the flash kick, and I was like, uh-oh. And I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's just a DP input. And then,
That's his only charge input. So I guess traditionally he was a charge character, but now he'll be both motion and charge, and that flash kick is his only charge input.
so he's throwing Hadokens and then doing flash kicks.
Hell yeah.
And then the ball that he like throws behind you and then makes you guess high low. That seems pretty strong. That's almost like a Menat from Street Fighter Five.
Yeah, yeah. That big blue multi-hitting orb that he threw his opponent to, very like Edge Street Fighter 5.
Yep.
There's just a lot of like awesome inspiration in that character, so I'm all in.
Yeah, that blue ball also kind of reminds me of like Chun Li's Kokoken,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
that's
super
true. That's
one.
true. Beefcake in the chat saying that they'll be playing Preacher,
Which, hold
because
on, let me
that
go to the other video. Which one's Preacher?
Preacher
Is this
digging
one with the
that.
glasses?
That's it. Yep, yep. They're the apprentice of Joe, the Thai boxer there.
This guy's Joe?
No, no, Joe's not in. Joe's gonna
Oh,
be season one DLC. That's Vox in the bottom left. He's a new character. He has like Nakali feel vibes to me a little bit.
I see. What's this
And
character's
then
deal? What?
uh, I'm not exactly sure. I think she has a command grab, but I'd be down to watch it. The trailers are a minute or so. I'd be down to watch another one or two if you wanted.
What's her name?
Ooh,
It's-
that one I don't know.
Um, is there character trailers for each person?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think if you went to like the SNK official YouTube,
Let me click this first. I didn't mean to go next. Actually, let's go back to here.
oh yeah, there you go.
Time.
Gato.
Huh. Playlist maybe?
They've been like slowly drip feeding some of these, so there might be like a bigger gap in like the timeline between when they released one to the other.
Hmm. I think this was just background music actually.
Otaru Futaba? Is that the character that you're looking for, I think?
How do you spell it? F-A.
Futaba.
Cool.
Otaru Futaba. Yeah, nice. There you go.
Let's see.
This grabbed your interest. Was it the blue hair?
It was the blue hair and then it looked like a ferret or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Crepes. She's cute. Oh, oh.
Is that ice?
No, I think it's just the effect.
Oh, just like a blue spark effect. It looked like ice for a
Yeah.
second.
Huh.
Hmm.
Cute. But nothing like too standouty for me.
Yeah, she just seems kind of like a in-your-face brawler, like a little bit tricky, kind of like a Kimberly.
Mm. So, like in this game, you do special move cancels into special moves. So anytime you see the blue like ghost silhouette left back, that's when they've canceled one special move to another,
I
and
see.
that is what revs up the engine into overheating when you've done too much of that. So same thing, like you want to do this big combo, you want to spend a lot of resources, now you're overheating.
Mm.
So I'm very excited. I will be playing that all weekend long at the beta. So go, pick that up for yourselves. You guys watching at home, go enjoy some Fatal Fury: City of the Wolves. The game comes out fully in April 24th, and here's the big thing: the game is $60.
Ooh.
Season one DLC is already included in that price as long as you pre-order it, and you're gonna get. They already showed off 5 DLC characters that will be coming for season one. So not 4 or 5. Also, including Ken from Street Fighter 6 and Chun Li. So this game's gonna be good. Plus, there's also gonna be no color packs or anything. You'll be able to custom color match whatever you want with your character and stuff. So you don't have to wait for Capcom to make pink-haired Ken or whatever. You can just change it yourself. So I think there's gonna be a lot of value in this game. I hope it does well, and I hope it's got some longevity in it, because maybe the Shoto Bros can be strong in the City of Wolves.
I will say though, having a $60 price of entry is not working in its favor. I think that even though it's a good deal that you get the game and the DLC package at $60, I think if they give you the option to buy the game for 40 and then choose to buy the
Oh, you're
DLC for
crazy.
like 20,
Oh, you're crazy.
then I think
The prices that you live in, I wish they were real, but those are 20-year-old prices. The fact that game is not $70 on a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X is actually the biggest win. I mean, when did was it King of Fighters 14 came out? That game was hit big time with bad press and and that game was $60, not worth it. I think this is a $60 game all day,
and
all day.
and you're probably right. It probably is worth 60, especially, you know that you're going to like it. You know it's worth 60 for you. I guess I'm talking on behalf of the people who are looking at it, they're slightly interested, they're not sure if they're going to enjoy it or not, and it's basically $60 to try it besides the open beta.
That's why I was going to say that's why this weekend is so important. This is a great point, Ricky. If you've been on the fence whether or not you want to play this game, that you can get to try it for 4 days, basically from Thursday to Sunday night, and see. And then also keeping in mind too that what we're getting is not the official final build. Whatever will be coming in April, I'm sure we'll have adjustments and other characters and things like that too. So take this with a grain of salt. But yeah, this will be more of like a network test. And I think beyond being able to play this at Evo or Frosty Faustings or Combo Breaker, this will be the first time it's in the general public's hands, outside of an event. So I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I guess I'm just of the opinion that like if you could have a lower price to entry and then make the optional things make up for it. So like if a fighting game were to come out, anywhere from 20 to $40, that's a good deal. But then to compensate, like each character is like $10. And so if you're hooked and you loving the game and you're gonna buy everything anyways, they got your money whether you pay 60 up front or if you pay 40 and then 20 or 20 and then 10 for 4 different DLC packs. But it's really for the players that are unsure, and because they're unsure, they opt to not buy it because of the $60 price point.
Tomato says that SNES games, Super Nintendo games, were more expensive than that back in the day.
This is true.
Brutally being, I don't think it will sell. The content yells $40. So there you go. Inhuman John agreeing with you. 5 characters in 7 months. I just wanted to catch up on that real quick. Um, okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so like for me, like because Street Fighter 6 is like my fighting game of choice, and I choose not to split my time amongst multiple fighting games, if I were to play a game like this, it would be like on the side, pretty casual. And so
Yeah,
for me, it's like if you
it
told me
needs
the
to be a
game,
low investment for
it
you.
needs to be a lower investment. And so like for me, like if I were to like try out the game and compete in it at Button Club, I don't think I would spend the $60. I think I'd probably play the beta and then just play at Button Club on Mondays and basically not practice at all in between.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's different, you know. I want to be a completionist, even if I'm not going to play the character. Before Button Club and everything, when I didn't have to worry about owning all the DLC, I still wanted that, you know. So to have it all and the stages and things like that too. So even when it comes with this, like I want to have the complete game. So, but you've got other people that are agreeing with you in the chat. Even Phil D says the same thing. Yeah, $40 is a great idea. Then $20 for the DLC.
Yeah, because that's essentially what the price is. They're just forcing you to buy the bundle.
Mm-hmm. Killer Instinct had that model. Oh yeah, so they're talking about the Killer Instinct model there being like free to play, and then you know you could buy whatever character you want, which is so that's a great thing to bring up there, Tomato. That worked so good in a time before it was so mentioned and talked about, and we've never seen it since, right?
Right. Well, is 2XKO going to be free to play?
I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I keep assuming, but I can't recall if I saw that confirmed or not. But if 2XKO is free to play, and then like I said, you just pay for characters or you pay for stages or optional things that you don't necessarily have to buy, they'll still get their money in the end. It's just they're going to make the players happier, and they're going to get a lot of players that they wouldn't get if it was a $60 or $70 game.
I think also I'll bring this up as a counterpoint to that. Sometimes when things are at a certain price point, it is considered cheapened
Yep.
and less of because of it. So I think if SNK is trying to compete with the Capcoms, the Bandai Namcos, and the Segas, and they are releasing a game that is less than the $60, already it's going to get looked at as well. I might not pick it up because it almost like is the developer doesn't believe it's a $60 game or a worthy game, so why would I pick it up? That was kind of the thing that happened with DNF Duel. You can say whatever you want about DNF Duel, but that game, you know, died for its own reasons separately, but it didn't get a lot of people because I think it was also looked at as, well, it's $40 game and I'm not gonna go in on it basically, you know, because it already seems kind of cheapy.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a catch-22, but I agree, but I also think that games that are not as big as Street Fighter or Tekken need to come in at a slightly lower price point to be competitive because whether they're as good or not is irrelevant. It's, you're trying to make the consumer make a decision, either at the Steam store or at the physical store. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in order to get them to click or to pull out their wallet, I think if it's, if you're a Street Fighter player and there's a new Street Fighter game, I don't care if it's $200, I'm buying it. If you're a Tekken
Mm-hmm.
player and Tekken 9 comes out, I'm sure for Tekken players, they don't care what the price is. But for
Yeah.
these kind of games where it's like a kind of hit and miss, or like I might buy it, I might not, depends what my friends are going to be playing. I think coming in at a lower price point. I use the analogy of like the food at the movie theaters. I've always had this thought of like, why is it that a soda at the movie theater is $9? You'd sell more than triple if you sold it for $3. So you'd end up making
Mm-hmm.
more money. And so
Mm-hmm.
with these types of games that are probably as good or could be as big as Street Fighter and Tekken, but their names aren't recognized on the same level just yet, I think coming in at a slightly lower price point gives you the opportunity to be seen and played by more people who could then have the opinion of like, oh, this game is as good or this game is even better than Street Fighter 6 and it was less than $60. It's like a win-win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we will have to see. You said you will be playing the beta. You're gonna
Uh,
just try it out.
I might be convinced.
Yeah, yeah, I want to play. I'm gonna get into it, and I want to get as many people into it as also. I don't know if I'll play this game for 8 years or whatever too, but right now it looks very exciting. There's a lot to look forward to. So
Yeah, I think worst
I'm
case
really
scenario, even
excited.
if the game doesn't do as well as we're hoping, I think for us it'll still be, people that we know will play the beta, and then we'll run it at Button Club from imagining at least like 2 months or so. And then if at
Mhm.
that point there's no traction, then on to the next one.
Like 6 months. Can I get 6 months out of
6 months
it?
would be great. I think that's what we're hoping for. I'm saying worst
Yeah,
case, like if
yeah,
nobody
yeah,
likes it,
yeah,
it'll probably be like 2 months.
yeah.
Or if it's an MK game.
Oh, and yeah, it's dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. Oh man, I'll never forget when we were at the old location. A couple of people hit us up about MK, and I'd be like, if you want to spearhead it, run it, but like it did not last. I want to say within a month it was dead at Button Club. Like,
Yeah,
why are we doing this?
yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna keep my mouth shut about NRS players for now.
um, anything else you want to say about the City of the Wolves?
Like I said, I could be convinced I might actually try out the beta. Um, but again, even if I play it and I think it's fun, I don't think I'm gonna pull out my wallet and spend $60 just because I don't have uh, the foresight to know, like, is this gonna be like a Button Club staple? Is this gonna be like the next big game? And if it's not, for me, I would hate to spend $60 and then play it for 2 months and then never touch it again. For me, that would feel like a waste.
I think your heart is also just in Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This
Through
this this is almost like a distraction.
Yeah, through and through. Where like, so much like how I said my how Kevin is like losing it for Street Fighter 6 right now. I remember a time for me when Soul Calibur 6 came out and being like, I had a solid group of friends that really wanted to play that game, and that was my first time. So I deviated from 5 to play that game. But coming back to Street Fighter, every time I've taken a break from Street Fighter, I come right back, and I'm always, I can almost pinpoint like, oh, that's what I learned from Soul Calibur. Oh, that's what I learned from Guilty Gear and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna look forward to expanding and being able to like handle. This is gonna be the most mechanic heavy game I've ever played fighting wise, and some would say in general. So I'm like kind of looking forward to testing myself with that and how much I can remember and adding, the 9+ years of fighting games that I've been playing. Do you follow me on Facebook?
I don't use Facebook very often. I think we are
Uh,
friends on Facebook, but I don't open it hardly ever.
a
Maybe
memory
maybe like twice a year or something. I'll open
uh,
Facebook for some reason, but
a
like,
memory came up for Street Fighter 5 of me buying the game and the arcade stick and the backpack, and it was a 9-year-old memory. So that just came up, and I was like,
oh my
wow, I
God,
can't believe it's been that much time.
that's true because it came out February 16th, I think.
Yeah,
Or was it?
2016.
Yeah, it was 2016 for sure. I forget the actual date. It was February 2016, so
Yeah.
exactly 9 years ago.
Yeah, it was right after Valentine's Day, so like I remember that coming up. So that just came up, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's been that long we've
It's
been
been
doing
such a
this
long
for.
time.
Yep. Did you happen to check out the Evo Awards at all?
I did not, but I heard that it was extremely long and painful.
It was long. I don't know. It wasn't. So, I don't know. I like sappy things sometimes, so I kind of like when they were digging into the giving Taquito, Alex Valle, and John Choi the Hall of Fame stuff.
That's
I really
interesting.
like, yeah, I really like seeing that, and the full on interviews with them. Alex Valle is such a class act, and him and John Choi have been going back and forth since the early '90s. I think they said they have like a 30 to 35 year long rivalry.
Yeah, back
Um,
from like Street Fighter 2 in like 1992.
yeah. So it's really great to see. And Taquito spoke English. I love listening to Taquito speak English. The spacing that he puts between his words captivates me. When he's talking, I am like, I'm all in. Like, when's that next word coming out? What's he saying? I absolutely love it.
But yeah, so I didn't watch the Capcom Awards, but I think it's good that they had it. And I'd heard it was like 4.5 hours long or something like that.
Dude, I it was streaming and I went to go watch and like, oh, I'm kind of jumping in the middle here. I'll watch it later. And then later on, I'm like, oh, it's still streaming. It must be a restream. Let me jump in. And I was catching the end of it, and it was hours later. So, yeah, long-winded, but it was heartfelt in a lot of ways. The sentiment was great as to what they wanted to just shine light on and show off all the beautiful, positive things of the FGC in this past year. Um, Other standout moments were, Sajam, who does the Sajam Slam. You're aware of that, right?
Yep.
Sajam Slam won awards. Sajam himself won awards for, content creator and stuff like that. When he was giving one of his acceptance speeches, he said that he had reached out to the publishers of these games to ask for help to team up to make this a thing, and no one agreed to work with him.
Interesting.
So there's a point where the host, Majin Obama, him and G Yuna run a weekly in Japan for like 7 or 8 years now. They've been doing that. They ended up winning the best local. Okay.
Nice. Good for them.
Yeah, the amount of production they put into it was very, very well deserved. So what was great about Majin Obama is he's doing his presenter spiel, right? Very much reading from the teleprompter, doing his thing. When he accepted that award, that facade was gone, and it was just Majin Obama, the player. And at one point, after he's done thanking everybody, he says, I got to say this, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically saying, like, you developers need to support us more because we are the ones putting your games on and showing off what you guys are building. And without us and what we're doing showcasing, these games just fall, are unplayed basically. So
Right.
I thought that was a really, really good thing to kind of like, yes, thank you, but hey, can we get some more support? We're supporting you. Can we get it reciprocated?
Right. And they also have to kind of be careful that, it's content creators that are making this content because they enjoy it and they want to, and not because they're being paid. But
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing it, like, with the Sajam Slam, like whatever fighting games are in that event, it's like they could just sponsor the event, you know, but not to make it in a way where like I'm sure Sajin wouldn't agree to put on a game that nobody's ever heard of, that isn't good, that he doesn't think is fun, just because they paid him like $10,000 or something. But I think it would be good for the games that are already, like the Street Fighters, the Tekkens, the games that people are already playing, because they're showcasing them and putting them in front of new audiences that might pick up the game and, future customers. I feel like sponsoring them or bringing them in to like if they were to like bring Sajim into the Capcom offices and like show him a character and like let him make content with it like ahead of time, like that inside scoop
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would
No,
be
it's
great and
true.
it makes sense and it's just a win-win. There's no reason not to support the content creators that are, like you said, they're the salesmen of the game.
Mm-hmm. And Sajam alone picking up new players, showing them how to play the game. He's basically just sold that game, the community, to those players. Those players are more likely than not are going to stick with this now. And then their fans who are watching it go, "Oh yeah, I'm actually inspired to try that. I'd pick that up." So that whole thing alone was not just selling your game, but it was opening up the community. It was bringing in new players.
Yeah,
He did a lot to not get that help.
yeah, and it's interesting that he was conscious enough to go out of his way to ask for help or to ask for
Hmm.
support or say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing whether you help me or not, but are you
Hmm.
guys on board?" And they either said no or didn't respond, and that's, a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, because he did that all out of pocket afterwards, and now he's reaping all the benefits. Where instead, it could be Bandai Namco and Sajam present the Sajam Slam, and then you have all that financial backing. It's kind of a real shame to have heard that. That was like it was interesting. That was kind of like, oh, moment, like Majin Obama just said that, but also kind of like, wow, no one helped out Sajam. That's awful.
Yeah,
Other than that, some takeaways. That guy that placed third in Third Strike, I can't think of his name right now.
Justin
The
Wong.
ver- no, no, no. It was last year's
Oh, okay.
Evo, the Hugo player, and he was dancing on
Oh,
stage and
ED.
doing the splits.
Yeah, yeah, yep. I know who you're talking about now.
He cleaned house. He won at least 3 awards, if not a handful of awards.
That's awesome.
The last one that he won, he did the Hugo dropkick on stage and lands on his side like a breakdance move. So now when I see him do that, I'm like, this guy, and I say this with love, this guy's a freak. The way he can move his body, he's amazing on that hard floor. Not until later is it presented where he does that over Ken's super art do I realize that he's doing Hugo's dropkick
Yep.
and remaking what is now moment 38 like bananas. Bananas. But it was a good time. If you guys caught it, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave it in the chat if you did enjoy it. Yeah, Evo Moment 38. And this was the first year of them doing that, so I look forward to them doing it more. Another thing that really kind of made me go, huh, we did something so right was the Button Club Awards that we did last year.
Yeah.
And how so much of what we did last year kind of felt like I was seeing here the jokes, the gentle ribbing of each other, and the heartfelt presentation. So it was nice to see, and it instantly motivated me for this next year, Button Club, the awards, everything. Like I played Street Fighter right afterwards. Like, okay, yeah, I've been in a funk lately, but I feel motivated now.
Yeah, the Button Club Awards was excellent, and thank you for putting it on and having the idea and actually executing it. Yeah, so I'm assuming because it was so fun and successful that it'll be a yearly thing, and so I'm looking forward to the next one as well.
I've already got ideas, bro. Every once in a while, Alicia and I will be doing whatever, and I go, "Oh, and I had this idea last night for the awards. I think I want to do a thing for this and a category for that, and blah blah blah." So, yeah, we'll be doing that again. What other things do we have to talk about, my friend?
We have a few more tabs. Let me switch over to this. So we have Street Fighter 6's 10 worst matchups. And let me
Oh,
just
yeah,
zoom
this
in
was
on this a little
interesting.
bit. Zoom a little bit
This
more.
alone changed how I feel about two characters specifically.
Yeah, so the worst. So this actually says a lot. And the thing I will say about it is because the worst matchup in the game is essentially a 6-4 to 6.4 to 3.6, means the game's pretty well balanced. There's no 7-3s, there's no 8-2s, there's no 10-0s,
Yeah.
right? So that tells me that the game's pretty balanced. And because the least of the worst down here at the bottom is a 5.7 4.3, that's almost even, which
Yeah,
means
that's splitting
all
hairs.
that means all the other matchups in the game are more even than this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even though it's interesting to look at this list, it's really like, basically every matchup is 5-5 except for these few.
Mm-hmm. And Dalsum and E Honda being more represented here than I feel like I've seen their names everywhere else. So
Y-
Dalsum beating Zangief so convincingly, and then also Lily basically the same thing, right? That's a pretty similar matchup.
Yeah, and I think what that is saying is like there's a lot of value in having good slash equal matchups in this game. And like Ken is like a prime example of that. Like Ken's very strong, and at least as far as I can tell, there's no matchups that are like really, really bad for him, right? Like every match, like there's matchups that are better and worse, but they're all pretty even, right? The better player wins. And so for characters like Dalsim and Honda to be considered weak or low tier or definitely underrepresented, it might have to do with the fact that they have some really good matchups and they have some really bad matchups. And since the majority of players practice in ranked where you can't switch characters depending on what your opponent's using, I imagine there's some very salty Dalsim and Honda players who play ranked, and depending on what characters they run into, they're either winning for free or they're losing for free.
What do you think about the JP beats Guile?
Oh, I 100% agree with that. When Street Fighter 6 first came out, I was playing Guile because that's my main from Street Fighter 5, and there was no other characters at that time that were interesting to me in Street Fighter 6. And this matchup alone made me want to either quit Street Fighter 6 or pick a different character because I was losing
Yeah.
so badly to like every JP. Um, it was extremely frustrating, and it wasn't until I picked up Luke and like learned how to play Luke, because like day one of Luke, I was still losing to JP. But once I like learned how to play Luke and like understood what was going on, then I was beating JP with Luke, and then like months later, I like played Guile a little bit,
Yeah.
and I was still losing to JP with Guile. I was like, oh, this is just a really bad matchup.
Part of me was like, JP beats Guile 5.9 to 4-1. I was like, why did it seem like in my head worse than this?
It feels worse. It feels like an 8-2, but clearly there's not any 8-2s.
Like, maybe I thought more of like the 6-4-3-6 Dalsum Zangief, but like, I saw that. I was like, man, that seems so much closer than it felt like in my head.
Yeah, the other thing too is I believe this list is only master ranked players.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But to be fair, even though it's all master rank, like master ranked are not all created equally. Like a 1300 MR is completely different from like an 1800 MR player. Like their matchups might be totally different. So in a way, I wish that this list was compiled of like 1800 MR plus only.
Mm, okay.
I mean, it still might be the same list, but at least we'll know that I think including all the master ranks down, from like 1400 down to 1000 MR, it's like those are almost diamond rank players. Like it's almost the same thing as including diamond.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Dalsim beats Zangief. That makes sense because Dalsim is just zoning and keeping him out, and Zangief has to work
Can't get
so
in.
hard to get in, and then Dalsim can just teleport out of the corner. Dalsim beating Lily makes sense because again she has to like poke you, and one of the things she does really well is like she'll be very annoying, but then if you jump at her, she'll anti-air you with DP and then mix you up with SPD. But I think Dalsim can keep out the grapplers so well that their tools are irrelevant.
And I was gonna say, like, even though Lily has a couple of extra tools to help her get in better than the other grapplers, Dalsum's still shutting her out.
Yeah, he's just too slippery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, JP beating Guile makes total sense to me. Guile just doesn't have the tools to compete with that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
basically Guile never gets to throw a Sonic Boom. So this ironically reminds me of Balrog versus Guile from Street Fighter V. Guile can basically never throw Sonic Booms, and from Street Fighter V, Balrog never had to jump. So I basically don't get a flash kick either. And that's how JP feels. It's like I don't get
Just
to
shuts
throw
down your
booms.
whole game.
Yeah, it's like I don't get to throw booms, and my flash kick is useless. So I'm playing Guile with no special moves.
He only has 3, so you're missing out on a lot there.
Yeah, so no, so in previous games like Street Fighter V and prior, he always only had 2 special moves if you don't count the V skill. Now he
Mm,
has the V skill in Street Fighter 6 as a special move, but it's another form of projectile, so he can't use that either.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. And it takes so long to create, so he doesn't really have outside of knockdown situations. He's not really like creating that to use it against JP, right?
Yeah, I literally have to play with no special moves.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible matchup. It's very frustrating. Like I said, it reminds me of
Mm.
fighting Balrog, which I gotta just counterpick. I can't.
He'll wake up with the sweats sometimes at night. Yeah.
Listen,
Don't worry, honey, go back to sleep. I was just dreaming about Balrog again.
I'm not looking forward to Capcom releasing any other characters because there's always a chance that Balrog's on that list.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And then
Dalsim beating JP makes sense because Dalsim is doing to JP what JP is doing to Guile, which is you don't get to play.
mm-hmm.
Honda beats Dalsim makes sense because Honda is like immune to zoning in a way.
Yeah. He's able to get in so well. He's got the armored headbutt if he needs it to.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
then
then
like all of
go
his
ahead.
special moves being safe. It's like, if you headbutt a Dalsum and he blocks it, it's like, yeah, you're -3, but Dalsum's not scary. Like Dalsum needs to, death by 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm. The next one surprised me big time.
Honda beats Blanca.
Yeah.
So I think Honda and Blanca fundamentally are playing the same game, but
And I would say Blanca would be higher on the tier list, so I found that shocking there.
yeah, so I think Blanca does better against Shotos, and I think that's why Blanca is so good. I think Honda
Mm,
doesn't do as well against Shotos. Um,
mm.
but yeah, I think Honda Blanca is just like a nuanced matchup where we're both playing the same game, but where Blanca is doing Blanca stuff and he's doing like um, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like consistent Street Fighter 6 stuff. Honda's just doing degenerate stuff. So he's out degenerating the degenerative character, if that makes sense. Like,
Damn, yeah.
um,
And
so,
then
so, so
JP
in a way,
beating Zangief.
yeah. So
Go ahead.
just to clarify, in a way, the way Honda beats Blanca is the way that like JP beats Guile. It's like yeah, they're both zoners, but the better zoner wins. And so Honda versus Blanca, like they're both kind of just doing stuff. And I know that's kind of oversimplifying it, but in a nutshell, that's what it feels like a lot. It's like they're gonna do stuff at you and make you nervous, and when you're nervous, you make a mistake and then you die. And so they're both doing that, but Honda is better at leaning into that.
Tomato says that Honda is dangerous at a range where Blanca isn't, and
That's true.
that's the difference. So there you go. That's interesting. Well said. Well said.
JP beats Zangief makes total sense. The same way that Dawson beats Zangief. Zangief does not want to be zoned. Um, However, Zangief beats Guile, which is really interesting, but I think that's just uh, because Zangief has anti-fireball tools and Dalsum and JP don't have regular fireballs.
Mm.
Where JP basically has like the Nakali Slam as a
Oh, okay.
fireball.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
M Bison beating Dalsum makes sense because Bison only has to touch you one time and then you're in Mix-Up City for the rest of the game. And then same thing, because Bison has such a good anti-fireball tool with the OD Psycho Crusher, Dawson basically doesn't get to throw any fireballs from anywhere on screen.
That floaty jump too. I catch them coming down on something that they mistimed. Maybe they messed up a teleport or a button.
Right, and then it's easier to do the jump hell attack, the jump medium punch to medium punch, because his jump is so floaty.
No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
that
that makes sense.
yeah, and then Dawson beating Mariza, the same reason why he beats Zangief and Lily. Whether you want to accept it or not, Mariza is a grappler, and so he loses
Mm.
to Dawson.
But hold on, Dalsum Marissa is closer than Dalsum Zangief.
Yes, but I think
Mm.
that's an interesting point.
And I think because Marissa has so much more meter options to get in.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, armored options to get in.
yeah, she has the armored options. She has the Gladius. She has the Superman punch to get over fireballs, where if she
Yeah.
does the OD version from the right distance, it's fireball invincible, and so that actually works probably really well against Dalsum's fireball that is thrown up in the air.
Mm.
So it
She
probably
might just get that like one straight hit and a knockdown. She might not get much from it after that, but that's inching her closer at least and edging her out probably over Zangief.
yeah. And also, there's probably just a lot less Mariza players, and so there's probably just not enough data points for the matchup to be as bad as it needs to be.
Is also a great point. Yep.
Um, DJ beating Dalsum makes sense.
Hmm.
It doesn't show it on this list because it's not that bad of a matchup, but like DJ versus Guile is kind of frustrating where it's a mirror match.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, DJ beating Dalsum. I think Dalsum loses to characters that only need to touch you once.
Yeah.
And DJ and
Corner
Bison are
Henry.
like, notorious for that. It's like you can be outplaying them, you can be beating them. One stray hit and you're in the corner and you guessed wrong and that's the round.
Yeah, it might be similar to like you were saying, like how JP beats Guile again. Like DJ, like they both can play from afar, but DJ is also moving. He's getting in, and when he's in, you're guessing a lot. So that rushdown is a lot scarier.
Yeah, and then this last one, Dawson beating Ed, it's like that just makes sense. Like Dawson beats, besides Guile, Dawson beats Zoners. I think it doesn't show it, but I think Dawson Guile is probably 5-5 or maybe slightly in Guile's favor just because of the raw damage output. But yeah, Dawson
The
beating Ed makes
OD.
sense because Ed is better from a closer range compared to a character like Guile. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, Dawson beats anyone who's trying to get close to him.
Yeah, I think Dalsum, like Ed, just has a little bit of a stubbier range. He's got bigger range than a Shoto, but not as much as Dalsum. And Ed's fireball, by comparison, the fact that he has to create the fireball and then send it,
Yeah, it's
he's,
slower
he's
and it's
slower in
more.
that game.
Yeah, it's slower and it's more telegraphed. It's kind of like if Guile could only throw a Sonic Boom after the blade.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Great analogy.
And then
So yeah, really interesting.
the last thing I want to say about this list, however, is remember earlier I was saying how Rashid's really strong, but like you run into like one Rashid and then you lose, and then you don't see Rashid for like 30 or 40 more games. I
Yeah.
wonder if the same thing's happening with Dalsum, where because the character's so unrepresented, nobody knows the matchup. So in ranked, like the Dalsum knows all the matchups, but everyone the Dalsum is fighting doesn't know the Dalsum matchup. So the Dalsum gets a free win, and then because the opponent doesn't see a Dalsum for another 100 matches, they never go into the lab and figure things out.
Hmm. That's what made, I think, Tomlet so strong for a while. He was willing to go in on that character, and when you don't know that matchup, that character might as well be S plus plus. You play a couple of games against Lucky D right now, and I'd be, wondering what the hell I was doing with my life. So
Well, I would say if you were fighting a good Dawson, I wouldn't say that about Lucky D though.
We turn off the lights, get some shade over here.
And I
Damn.
I love you, Dan. I take every opportunity I can to rip on Dan.
We'll have to get you a one of those Dan Sucks shirts. Did you ever get one of those back
I
in the day?
I saw them, but no, I don't have one.
We'll get you one. We'll take a picture together. We'll send it to him.
We got to make another shirt that says Ricky Rules and send it to him.
Yeah, there you go. And it's littered amongst the local that he's at, right?
Yeah, everyone's wearing a Ricky Rules shirt instead of a Dan
Yeah,
Suck shirt.
yeah. All right, my friend. And what else we got after this?
So this video, I'm not going to play it, but this was talking about Mena RD challenging Daigo to a first to 10.
Hmm.
Did we talk about this last week or did it happen since last week?
I think it happened since last week.
Yeah, so where is it? Yeah, I don't think I have the tweet
I
open
think it
right
was
now.
a Twitter post
Yeah,
on the.
it was a Twitter post that Mena had posted, and it was in Japanese and it was in English. And
Ah.
to paraphrase, it basically said, Daigo is the strongest player in the world when it comes to a first to 10 because he's so good at preparing, and that's clearly not the tournament standard, but it's a standard that Daigo is excellent at. He's the best in the world. And so he says, he respects Daigo so much, and he would love, for Daigo to accept his challenge to a first to 10 sometime in the future, and that he's gonna come prepared, and he really wants to challenge himself and see how far he can push against who, until maybe like halfway through Street Fighter V, was just like the best player on the planet, hands down. Like you couldn't compare anybody to Daigo. And I think that Daigo is better suited for the longer sets. And because that's not the tournament standard, his tournament results are not as good. They don't present him as being as strong as he really is.
I agree. I agree. But being like just so legacy, being just the fact that his birth certificate says Daigo Umehara, he's absolutely godlike. So I think this is an excellent challenge. I think that I like how it was, proposed to Daigo because it wasn't like trying to make a beef thing. It was all out of respect, which I absolutely love. And all I can think of and remember fondly is Takedo and Daigo and their first to 10 and how that went. And, Takedo being so upset and in tears because, he wasn't able to perform as well as he wanted to for his mentor like that. Um, it would be really, really interesting to see how this goes. And I think Mena doing this puts him in a now separate like pool of players almost. He was
Yeah.
an Evo Japan champion. Okay, well, we can't forget that. It's easy to forget like about Evo Japan sometimes, but being an Evo Japan champion and now challenging one of Japan's greats, we haven't seen that from the likes of Punk or the Angry Bird or anyone else that's got such great, amazing FGC accolades. So I think this really says a lot about Mena and where he's at.
Yeah, I think he's ready to kind of go to the next level if there is one. Also,
Maybe carve himself into the Mount Rushmore of FGC, right?
yeah, I think that's where he's kind of pushing toward. And also, I was going to say, I don't know if you remember, Daigo did a first to 10 with Zien after he won Evo.
I've heard of this story, but I'm not as familiar with it.
Yeah, so maybe we'll look it up for next week's episode. But I forget what the score was, but it was heavily in Daigo's favor. Like it was pretty free.
Yeah.
I forget it was like 10-2 or 10-3 or something, but it was not close. And it was like, I forget how long after he won Evo. It might have been like within the next 2 months, but it was like right after he won Evo, and he crushed him.
So imagine that you just won the biggest tournament in our the Super Bowl of our sport, and then the guy who's just legendary, Brett Favre, right, comes out of retirement and completely smokes you in a game of football. Like that's insane.
Yeah, but again, it's hard to say if Daigo's the best player because Daigo knows that the tournament standard is first to 2 until you get to the finals, then it's first to 3. And so if he's not adapting and adjusting his game plan to succeed in that format, that would
Yeah.
be like someone saying like, "Oh, I'm the best football player in the world if the football field was 10 times as long." It's like, "Well, that's great, but it's not."
Yeah. Very hypothetical, but it's not the rules we play by, right?
Exactly. Or, Yeah, I could, a million metaphors. I'm the best at basketball. If the hoop was so high, if the hoop was 20 feet high, I'm the best in the world. Like, that's great,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
not the rules we're playing by.
So your money would be on
Daigo.
Daigo, of course. Yeah, I
And
think.
if you asked me if it, a first to two or a first to three, even though I love Daigo and respect him and think he's an incredibly strong player in today's landscape and climate and whatnot, I would say that Mena is the favorite over Daigo in a first to two or a first to three. But I
Yep.
think in a first to 10, there's not a human being on the planet that is better than Daigo. No,
Mm.
everyone's an underdog to Daigo in a first to 10. Until,
Even Daigo's clone would lose to Daigo, I heard.
well, yeah.
Just being ridiculous.
No, yeah, I know, but it's true that like there's not a person that you could name that I would put my money on over Daigo in a first to 10. And that includes like anyone from any game. Like I wouldn't put money on Punk, I wouldn't put money on IDOM. Um yeah, there's just nobody.
Mm.
I don't know if
There
you
was a
remember there was an interview with Tokido and he said something like, if aliens came to this planet and said we need to fight your strongest player, that he would vote for Daigo to play against the aliens.
Oh, wow. No, I've never heard that. That's hilarious.
And I forget what the context of the interview was, but I think he was like, I want to push myself to be so good that I'm the one chosen to fight the aliens. But right now it's Daigo. Daigo is number one.
Wow. That's awesome. I love
But
that, man.
but also
Taquito.
a really funny analogy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I've done that like that too, like sometimes you motivate yourself like through the gym or to to get through anything like if I do this I'm the best or whatever. It's I like that. I like that mentality. All right, my friend, is there anything else you want to talk about for tonight?
So we talked about a lot. I'm just quickly clicking through my Chrome tabs. I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover. There's a few more tabs, but they were less important than what we've already covered, and so I think we're good for tonight.
Hell
What about
yeah.
you? Is
Well,
there anything else you wanted to cover?
no, I think that's it. Um I think tonight was an excellent episode, a discussion packed with so many topics. So thank you again to everyone at home for watching, everyone in the chat. Thank you to Ricky for hosting and being the other third of this podcast for sure. So it's really amazing. Comment down below who you think is going to win Capcom Cup 11 and what you thought of the other topics for tonight. Like the video if you have. Subscribe for just to help us out. Just subscribe. Why not? Cost you nothing. Hang us out. And then share with your friends this so you can get other like-minded individuals into the FGC. We will be back again next week, Wednesday, same time, 8 o'clock. And don't forget, on Mondays, we'll be streaming our tournaments. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Safe Sets podcast. Keep pressing them buttons and
Stay safe.
have a good night, everyone. Thank you.